Welcome to the Offshore Club's most riveting and revealing offshore lifestyle podcast, Open Mike, with Mike Cobb. For more than 20 years, Mike has worked and lived in Caribbean countries from north to south and the Atlantic to the Pacific. Nobody knows it better. And now, here is your offshore ambassador at large, Mike Cobb.
Hi, everybody. Mike Cobb with ECI here today. I've got Rachel Jensen with us. Rachel is an incredible case study of what happens when somebody moves overseas for what they think is just a little bit of time, and then all of a sudden it turns out to be almost a lifetime. Well, for Rachel, it's about half a lifetime. But anyway, Rachel, thanks for being with us today. If you don't mind, let me tell the beginning of your story and then punt to you for the rest of it.
Sure.
Rachel Jensen and I went to the same college, just a few years apart, and she came to us as an intern. We have lots of interns coming out of Allegheny College, and we love it. So she came and she lived with my family in Nicaragua as an intern for what we thought would be about 4, 5, 6 months, and then she ended up staying with the company, which we love. We love people who start as an intern and then transition into full-time employment. Rachel stayed in Nicaragua with us for about 2 years, I guess, but then said, hey, I want to go some other places. I want to see some other things. So she went off to New Orleans, lived with her sister for a year, and then decided to move to Belize. And Rachel, you fell in love with Belize. You have been a full-time Belize resident now for what, 5 years?
I bought a property in 2016 here. I was coming back and forth before then as well for a month or 2 or 3 at a time, and just absolutely fell in love with it here. And when I was interning with the organization, I was also coming back and forth to Belize. I was in Nicaragua for a little bit and then made my way to Belize for a week or 2. We did conferences and events here and just really liked my time in the country. And I think a big part of it for me was feeling like I was coming to a place that felt like home. We would fly over into Belize City, take the Tropic Air pedal jumper over to San Pedro. You get off the plane, it's like, people welcome you. And when you start to come down, often they start to recognize you and they'll say, wait, welcome home, Miss Rachel, or whatnot. And you walk outside, you collect your luggage, you see golf carts everywhere. That's how we primarily get around here on the island. And there's an established community here. And it's of expats, locals, even tourists who come, and everybody's intermingling with each other. And it's just a really unique place. Now, I was never somebody who wanted to escape the cold. I grew up in New York and grew up skiing, loved being outdoors, loved the chillier weather, and never really thought of coming down to this part of the world for the climate aspect of it. Now, over time, I've definitely acclimated. When I get back to the States and it's 55 degrees, I think it's 25, 30. It feels really, really cold. But over time, I've definitely acclimated to it and enjoy it. It's a very beautiful part of the world. You learn to live a lot more simply here. In the States, I think, or any place really that's a developed country, you tend to have too much stuff, and it's so easy to accumulate more and to be in this rat race and the keeping up with the Joneses mentality, where you just don't realize how much money you're spending towards things that really don't matter. And so in this part of the world, in Belize specifically, we don't have chain stores, we don't have chain restaurants. As much as I love Target, we don't have that here. And everything is more local. You're supporting more of the local businesses and the local environments. And I like that part too. It's comforting. Now, there are certainly things I wish sometimes I had here, but so many other benefits that outweigh that one thing that you may need at the time.
Yeah. Rachel, great story. You mentioned a couple things in there I would just accentuate. I lived in Nicaragua for 14 years. I moved there with my wife and my 2-year-old daughter, and we thought we would live there for 2, 3, maybe 4 years while we got our Grand Pacifica project started. And after just a few years, about 3 years, we had everything in place. We had chief operating officer, we had architects, accountants, engineers, we had the whole team put together. And my wife and I, Carol and I, went out to dinner one night, and we decided to stay in Nicaragua, what we said, a while longer. We didn't know what a while was. It ended up being 11 more years. We were there for 14 total years. So it is funny how it sort of bites you. The one thing you mentioned about feeling at home, you felt at home, you feel at home in Belize. Carol and I felt at home in Nicaragua. And that feeling of home is so important for that lifestyle, that quality of life. The one thing I did want to also mention, and maybe you can elaborate just a smidge on this, is you are a single woman and you moved to Belize. And I think a lot of women feel kind of weird maybe moving overseas as a single woman, but you've done it, and other single women there in Belize that have done it as well. So it's an important topic.
Yeah, and because English is the official language here in Belize, I think instantly it just makes you feel more comfortable where you're able to connect with, the person who's serving you coffee in the morning, or when you go to a restaurant, you're able to communicate. And, that is a big safety net for a lot of us, especially if you don't want to learn another language, is English is the official language here. So I think that helps from the perspective of safety. But in addition to that, there are a lot of women who come down, make the move down here, whether it's part-time, maybe as a snowbird, or they end up selling everything they had in the States and move down here full-time. But there is this, because there is a sense of community and people looking out for each other, you really do feel at home. And I've, knock wood, never gotten into an incident here, but I have, my golf cart. I drive around by myself. I do my own grocery shopping. I take trips by myself and do feel really quite comfortable. And, I'm originally from a place, New York, near Manhattan, where, if you bump into somebody, they're just yelling at you and screaming. Or if you say hi to somebody, or somebody asks, says hi to you on the street, you're like, what do you want from me? What do you want? Like, I'm not going to give you money. I'm not going to, give you this. It's just this expectation that you have from the sort of culture we grew up in here. And here, everyone just waves. They just wave because they're friendly or they're in a good mood. But it really is a different sort of mentality. And I think that's really what captures a lot of people. And we get a lot of repeat visitors here on Ambergris Key. It's the number one tourism destination for the entire country of Belize. And so it's great because we have a lot established here already. We have different restaurants, we have different things to do, we have entertainment, where not everywhere in Belize has that. So it's pretty neat. It's a comfortable place here, and I hope everybody decides to come down and visit at some point. I think you'll really enjoy it.
And that's it, right? You've got to put your feet on the ground, your toes in the sand, as you like to say, to really experience it firsthand and see how it feels at a heart level. And I hope many people will do that. Rachel, if somebody wants to come down and check out the island and see you, how do they do that? How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, feel free to reach out to us, osc@ecidevelopment.com. osc@ecidevelopment.com is the best way to reach out. I'm on email quite a bit, so we'd love for you to connect there and let us know how you heard about us.
That's great. Yeah, the Offshore Club, osc@ecidevelopment.com. Rachel, thank you very much. Appreciated the conversation.
Thank you, Mike. Bye-bye.
Bye.
For more information on the Offshore Club or to contact Mike Cobb, visit www.offshore.club today. www.offshore.club. That's www.offshore.club. See you next time at the Offshore Club.